Hey folks, how you doing? Paul Toomey coming at you from the dark archives of Erratic Press. I found this photo in an archive and I couldn't stop looking at it. I mean, check this out. At first it looks like a fairly standard, mid-century publicity shot, but then you start looking at it and it's like, wait a second. This is a guy, this is the typical pose that you see of a cartoonist at a drawing table. There are many, many photographs taken of cartoonists in the 20th century in America working at their drawing tables. You'll see them reprinted in uh, comics history books and comic strip and comics reprint books. And there'll be an introduction, there'll be a big picture of the artist drawing at their drawing table. But this drawing table happens to be on a beach. A beach? Okay, that's interesting. Uh, and when you look closer, he's drawing with his foot. He's got his brushes stuck in his pocket. He's got a microphone, which that's puzzling. What's that about? And his pipe is this almost like a prop. It's a gag, you know, sort of like a gag gift. It's it's this long S shape. I was just like fascinated by this photo, and because it's got the same screwball energy that screwball comics have. And I just thought, who is this guy? What do his cartoons look like? What's his story? And that's how I met Bandel Linn. And so for a period of, probably a few hours on an evening sometime in the past, I dug around and I found some stuff on Bandel Linn. And then I've revisited it a few times since. Here's one of his cartoons from, I think, around the first uh, year or two that he started selling cartoons. He was 18 years old when he sold this one. It's a really nice cartoon. First, you can see his signature is very clear here, and it's a customs inspector, which is an interesting setup for a gag. Good Lord, I didn't know they still wore those things. But instead of being, horrified, he's delighted. He's levitating off the floor. He's looking in a steamer trunk and pulling out one of the drawers. That's how these things worked. And, this little overlap here suggests he's looking in lingerie. And his hat's flying off, and he's got a grin, and his hair's standing up. Um, it's just a sweet little funny cartoon. Here's one from about 6 years later. I love this one. Isn't this great? It's I love magician cartoons to begin with, but this one has this great diagonal energy to it. So you're reading it from left to right. Sawing a woman in half. Here's the woman. Wait a minute. Her front is wait, what's going on here? The magician looking kind of dejected with the saw. You can't fire me. I quit. Notice he's changed the signature. Really nicely done. The wash is well handled, a very interesting shape, appealing, that draws you in. Not bad. Here's one from about 9 years later, published in Better Homes and Gardens in 1947. Again, interesting diagonal. Can you see that? The gag is, Officer, we've been having some trouble. You see, my wife's twin sister lives next door, and the gag is the houses all look alike. And this reflects something that was happening in society at the time, right? Post World War II America, building boom, and soldiers returning, population of America is growing, prosperous time, and they began to do tract housing, building houses in suburban neighborhoods where they all looked alike. This is where Levittown, Pennsylvania, uh, where that started. So this is reflecting something that's happening in society at the time, a gag that you don't necessarily get the subtext on unless you understand that context. I love this one. This is back when you would get milk deliveries. Notice that it's at night. is probably in the early hours of the morning, which is when milkmen usually did their deliveries, so that you could wake up and you could have fresh cream with your coffee and fresh milk with your cereal. But what a great gag. As near as I can make out, this guy's a novelist and he doesn't want any milk this morning. This guy's been sitting here and he's had to read all these pages. A novelist writes the note for the milkman. Love it. And this was the signature Bandel Linn sort of used and stayed with. He finally, I love tracing cartoonist signatures from when they start until they kind of lock in on their style and their signature. Digging around, I found all kinds of stuff on Bandel Linn: articles, photos, clippings, across, I think, going through the 70s and into the 80s. This is a cartoon by Bill Holman of Bandel Linn. That's a portrait of Bandel Linn right there. And see this thing in his pocket? It says Joe Miller. That was the name of a collection of jokes, a joke book. And this is a gag that cartoonists used in their cartoons to kind of rib themselves, to suggest that they were using tired old jokes. And look at this pull cue. Doesn't this remind you of that pipe? And of course, Bill Holman, creator of Smokey Stover, created the two-barrel pipe, right? So, and even more than that, these guys not only knew each other and were friends, but they came up together. They were born in the same place, Crawfordsville, Indiana, and they went to Wabash College, and they formed something that in April 1938, an article was published in the Country Gentleman called the Sugar Creek School. And it included 4 or 5 cartoonists and a cartoonist writer, a comic strip writer named Alan Saunders. And they all knew each other, and they all were syndicated and had careers. And I shouldn't say they were all syndicated, because I'm not sure Bandel Linn ever did a comic strip. I haven't found one, but he published plenty of gag cartoons. So that's kind of neat. This stuff was so fascinating. I couldn't just sit on it anymore. So I gathered it all together and I put it into a digital e-zine called the Erratic Files. And this is issue number 1, Field Notes and Finds from Comics History. Just show you a little bit. This is from a yearbook of Wabash College, and there's Bandel Linn right there. There's a photo of him. And not only that, here's another guy that's part of the Sugar Creek School, Franklin Bevan. He became a well-published gag cartoonist too. Pretty cool. Here's a self-portrait Bandel Linn did in Collier's. Now, it mentions Wabash College. I just showed you a page from the yearbook, cartoonist Frank Bevan right here. So we're beginning to sort of make some connections and fill the story out. But the story goes on. Later in his life, you start finding stuff like this. This is a cover that he did for an amateur radio magazine, because Bandel Linn got into radio. He had his own radio program. Remember the microphone that he was holding in that great photo? Well, he's not the first cartoonist to have a radio program. Bandel Linn had a radio program in Sarasota, Florida, as well as other places. And let's think of another cartoonist. Oh, here we go. Basil Wolverton, another great cartoonist who had his own radio program. Here's just an example of an article I found where it talks about a friendship that he has with a famous novelist of the time, McKinley Cantor, and a photo of him in his later years. Now, I threw in a whole bunch of other stuff too, and the idea here is that this is not a polished monograph. It's not, cultivated. It's the raw discovery. This is for people who want to share in the discovery and help make the connections and see the connections, or maybe even further and deepen the research themselves, which I'm hoping this will provide. See, the thing is, I've got, I don't know, I would say 150,000, maybe more, pieces like this that I found in my digging around. And a lot of times when you're looking for one thing, you find something else that's a great thing. So you grab it, you stick it in a folder. And I've got external hard drives full of this stuff. And I don't think I'm going to be able to get around to turning all of this into polished articles and books. So I'm opening my archives, and I'm sharing some of this with folks who like to discover for themselves. And as each issue goes on, I'll be adding an index that accumulates with each issue. So, say you want to find some material on Ethel Hayes, this will save you time from having to dig around yourself. You can see what's in the erratic files. That's my vision. Dr. Zeus, I think I found this part on eBay, and then I found an ad for this thing. What a great idea! A Dr. Zeus animal mounted on your wall. This is from the Dr. Zeus Zoo Incorporated. Uh, Really, really neat. Um, there's, a couple more Dr. Zeus pieces. This is the first of a two-page piece by, you ever heard of George Russo's? He worked in the 1940s with Mort Meskin and Jerry Robinson. He had a character in National or DC's comics in the 40s, a superhero called Airwave, which is kind of interesting because we've been talking about radio. But what's cool about Russo's, he had a very distinct style. It's in the Simon and Kirby, Mort Meskin, Milt Caniff style, heavy blacks. You can really see the brushwork, but still a good sense of anatomy, good sense of posing and staging, and not cartoony, realistic. And all of that comes through here. But what's really kind of a standout, I think, that differentiates Russo's from many of the other cartoonists that he of his time is that I believe that he colored his own work, because a lot of his stuff is very uniquely colored. Just take a look at the coloring here. Look at this panel right here. Look at how sophisticated that is, how the red leads your eye through it, just where you want to go. And look at this. You got the orange. A lot of colorists would probably have picked a darker nighttime color like blue to put behind here. So, but you have two shades of orange right here. Really, you can learn a lot from coloring by looking at Russo's. He's using coloring to give an energy to his work. So I thought this was really a cool little find. Uh, it's also rare to find a Russo's that he drew and inked and colored. So that's neat. Here's first of a two-page piece illustrated by Bill Holman. And this is interesting because this was published in a movie magazine in 1936, but Smokey Stover started in 1935. So Holman is, before he did Smokey Stover, he sold a lot of gag cartoons that turn up in the magazines, but they trickle out once Smokey Stover gets started, because doing a daily and a Sunday comic was a lot of work. But here he's still doing some freelance work, and he provided some illustrations to this article. And I included a whole nice little group of Holman rarities and some cartoons in the Erratic Files. So the Erratic Files comes from Erratic Press, and glacial erratic, is one of these huge stones that you find here in the Pacific Northwest in the forest. You'll be walking along, and then you just see this giant boulder. It's like, where the heck did this come from? Because there's all these old growth trees all around. Well, it came from the Ice Age. When the ice melted, these large boulders shifted, sometimes hundreds of miles, and just stayed there. You don't really appreciate what it is until you understand the context of what you see. And that's what we're doing. We're restoring context. We're building out comics history. So that's the idea behind Erratic Press. I've published some stuff. You'll hear more about it. Let's finish with one last great Bandel Linn cartoon. This is a tribute to, or a ripoff, depending upon how you want to look at it, to Rube Goldberg. Hot Air from Long-Winded Speaker present company accepted, causes balloon to rise, causing string to open door, freeing this dog who yelps. The yelps are picked up by a microphone. There's that microphone again. You'll find microphones and radios a lot in Bandel Linn's cartoons. And amplified by the amplifier, which frightens the cat, causes it to arch his back, tipping this platform, sending a brick onto the beam of the long-winded speaker, and puts an end to the to the misery. Isn't that great? So there's a link below if you want to learn more about the Erratic Files. Thanks, folks.